Augur led his friend to a large chest. The latch had been broken long before the dwarves arrived, probably by the Daewon, who never bothered to replace it. Augur pried open the lid and proudly exhibited his find. Selquist peered in. Nestled in straw were 10 dragon eggs, each the size of a large watermelon. The eggs were silver and gold, bronze, brass, and copper. They were smooth and perfectly shaped, and would have been exquisitely lovely if it hadn't been for the faint, sickly greenish light that began to emanate from them the moment Selquist drew near. "What's causing that glow?" Augur asked, alarmed. "Probably the spell that the black-robed mages and dark clerics cast over them," Selquist said. He was equally alarmed, but trying not to show it. "I think we should leave them alone. Let Velmer deal with it. He's the one who wants to break the eggs. You and I have to figure out how this wand works." "I thought you said you knew how to use it." "I do. I just have to practice a bit, that's all." Selquist thought back to the fire dragon pit, recalled the draconian using the sword, casting the spell. Selquist tried to remember every motion, every gesture, every word. Unfortunately, the words had been in draconian, and Selquist hadn't been able to hear them all that clearly. The only words he was certain of had to do with Queen Takesis. Selquist aimed the wand at a likely-looking portion of solid rock wall and intoned, "By the grace of her dark majesty." He stared at the wand expectantly. Nothing happened. The wand's 5 dragons, their 5 tails twined around the bottom, their 5 mouths gaping open, made no sound, shone with no blue light. "Come on, Dark Queen, listen up," he commanded, and gave the wand a shake. Augur gasped and covered his eyes so that he might be spared the sight of Selquist being instantly toasted, flayed, skinned, disemboweled, quartered, and changed into a wraith. Nothing. "Well," came a grating voice. Selquist turned to discover Velmer and the rest of the dwarves gathered behind him. They were all, Selquist noticed, now heavily armed, having outfitted themselves with the magical weapons. "Just give me a moment, will you?" Selquist said coldly. "I'm getting a feel for it." Velmer glowered.
"Oh, yeah? Well, while you're getting the feel of that wand, I'm going to bust up these eggs. You'd better be ready to get us out of here by the time I'm done."
"I will be," Selquist said. Velmer stalked over to the chest, his sword in hand. He came to an abrupt halt, however. He appeared considerably taken aback at the sight of the eerie green light that was growing brighter, casting a horrid glow over anyone who came near. The soldier dwarves accompanying him took one look and left hurriedly for the outer part of the chamber. Velmer attempted to bring the sword close to the eggs. Sweat broke out on his face. His arm wavered in the air. "I can't," he said through clenched teeth. Selquist turned his face away from the light. Facing the deepest, darkest part of the antechamber, he pointed the wand, concentrated all his thoughts, invoked the Dark Queen, promised her his soul and anything else she might like, including a 10% portion of his take, and cried desperately, "In the name of Her Majesty, Takesis, Queen of Darkness, I command thee to blast this rock to smithereens." Selquist poured every ounce of his will and energy and strength and hope and wishing into the wand. His hand shook with the effort of his exertion. The wand trembled, but that was only because his fingers were trembling. It did not respond. "Well, what about it?" Velmer demanded in nasty tones. He had apparently abandoned, at least for the time being, the idea of breaking the eggs. Now he was back to hounding Selquist.
"Got that wand of yours working yet?"
"No," Selquist screamed in fury. "Why don't you give it a try?" Whipping about, Selquist flung the wand straight at Velmer's head. Velmer ducked. The wand sailed over his head and struck the chest containing the dragon egg. Light flashed. Green light glared horribly. An explosion rocked the chamber. The green light shone brighter and brighter. And then the light was gone, replaced by a darkness that was blessed at first, and then didn't seem quite so blessed when they discovered that their torch had gone out. From the darkness came a strange sound. Mortar gasped, breathless. "What's that noise?" "It sounds like eggs cracking," said Augur helpfully. Realizing the implications of what he just said, Augur promptly screamed. "Light! We need light!" Selquist ordered, picking himself up off the floor. He heard sounds of furious scrabbling and scraping, groping around in the darkness with a torch. Then the sounds of nervous hands trying to strike flint and failing. Then a spark, and the single torch sputtered. The dwarves moved as one toward the chest, saw that their worst fears were being realized. Every single egg had spidery cracks running through it. The dwarves watched in shock, unable to move, as the first egg split wide open. A tiny lizard-like head thrust up from the shell, struggling to emerge. It opened its mouth and squeaked. Rows of razor-sharp white teeth glistened. Other heads poked up beside it.
Blessed Rourke, save us!
Mortar and tone.
Rourke's nothing, cried Velmer. We have to save ourselves. Kill those vermin spawn men. Kill them now. Quickly. They'll be looking for food and we're it.
The dwarves gripped their swords and advanced on the chest. The eggs hatched. About 100 tiny draconians were trying to stand on wobbly legs, their tiny wings still wet, clinging to their backs. At the sight of the dwarves, the draconians opened their mouths, begging for food. The spell which had protected them all these years was broken. They were helpless, vulnerable as any other newborn. The dwarves lifted their weapons. "Freeze!" came a deep, grating voice from behind them. "Don't move a muscle. The first dwarf who so much as twitches is a dead dwarf." The dwarves halted, weapons wavering in their hands. They looked back over their shoulders. 15 draconians stood at the entrance, swords in hand. "Back off," said the big draconian, who appeared to be their leader. Velmer snarled in anger. He faced around, his sword in his hand, holding the sword above the hatchlings. "Do your damnedest, Draco. We're trapped down here. We're dead dwarves anyway. But I'll see you fiends dead at least." "You're not trapped," was the unexpected reply. "Throw down your weapons. Back away from the chest. Leave the hatchlings to us, and we'll show you the way out."
"How can we trust you?" Velmer asked the big draconian. "We give up our weapons, and you just kill us all. Feed us to your evil spawn."
"My name is Kang," said the draconian. "I command the 1st Engineer Regiment. We are tired of killing. We only want to take the children of our race and live in peace. I give you my word." Velmer sneered.
"Oh, you'll live in peace, all right. You'll live in peace until these lizard women grow up and you mate with them. And then there'll be more of you lizard creatures, and you'll overrun the valley. And what will happen to us then? What will happen to our people?"
The other dwarves mumbled low-voiced agreement. The big draconian was silent, thoughtful. The dwarves were grimly silent. The other draconians were silent, ready to kill the dwarves if ordered. All that could be heard was the squeaking and chirping of the hungry hatchlings. "You're right, dwarf," said Kang, his voice heavy. "I couldn't guarantee that what you've said will not come to pass. I know my people. By nature, we are ruthless and aggressive. We would want to expand, and you would be in our way." He lifted his sword, took a step forward. The other draconians crowded behind him. Velmer started to edge near the hatchlings. He could probably kill a great many before the draconians jumped in. Selquist saw all his hopes, his dreams, his castle in Palanthus crashing down around him. He made one last desperate attempt. "You could move," he blurted out the first thought that occurred to him. Kang halted, gazed at him. "What did you say?" "You could move out of the valley," Selquist repeated. The idea suddenly seemed a good one, not surprising, since he thought of it. "Yes, move somewhere, anywhere, north maybe." Another draconian, standing behind Kang, said, "That's an idea, sir. What with the war going on, amid all the confusion, we could slip away northward, through the mountains, without anyone finding us. There's lots of prime real estate available, especially around Naraka. Abandoned cities, just waiting for some enterprising person such as yourself to walk in and lay claim to them. Urban renewal programs. Maybe you could get a grant. You could expand all you like." "Well, is it a deal?" Selquist asked eagerly. Kang considered, then said, "Yes, it is a deal." "Velmer?" Selquist asked. Velmer said grudgingly, "If they'll agree to move out of the valley, it's a deal." The dwarves lowered their weapons, stepped back away from the chest. The draconians lowered their weapons, stepped away from the dwarves. Kang walked over, bent to look at the newly born draconians. Cupping his hand, he carefully lifted one from its nest. The little beast squirmed in his hands and opened her mouth to be fed. He gently put the female back into the chest with her sisters. "The fire dragons are destroyed," Kang said. "Our queen willing, this means that the heroes will be able to defeat chaos, and the world will be safe. For the first time in our history, there is hope for our race. When we die, there will be young to take our place. Now that we have a future, we can begin to take joy in the present." Other draconians came up behind their leader. Reaching down, they picked up the tiny hatchlings. The babies nestled against the adult draconians, seeking their young. "Look, sir," said one, I think she likes me already." The big draconian nodded, too choked with emotion to speak. Even the dwarves were touched, it seemed. The draconians, gently and with great fondness, tucked the babies back into their mother's straw. "Prepare to move out," Kang said. "You dwarves can follow us." The dwarves packed up, prepared to leave, carrying as much treasure as they could possibly manage, and then some. Pestle could barely move. He jingled when he walked. "Autumn, draped all over in precious gems, was endeavoring to decide which valuable necklace to give to which girlfriend. All of them were nearly bent double with the load, except Selquist. "Augur," he began, "would you give me a hand?" "No," said Augur. "You can carry your own this time." "Pestle?" Selquist tried his other friend. "It's not much." "Absolutely not. I've got all I can manage." "Mortar, it's my back. I think I wrenched it." "Pull," Mortar said and walked off. Selquist stood deep in thought for a moment, then approached a draconian. "What's your name? Gloth, eh? Well, Gloth, you're a big strapping Draco, aren't you? I bet you could pick up that chest of steel coins without any effort whatsoever, and probably carry it all the way to Palanthas without ever feeling the strain. Now, I happen to know of this abandoned city that would be perfect for you and your new little brood. You carry that chest for me, and I'll tell you how to get there. You see," Selquist continued, "I have this map